Dance party in Glenn's place.
See if we can take the train
Any comments for the video? Roger asked me to visit.
Oh boy. No comment.
No comment?
Is the video edited?
It will be. It's for Roger.
Any comments for Roger? I think he's doing a yeoman's job.
Yep.
Yes, he absolutely is. And it's actually quite spacious, much larger than the first cottage I ever rented on Cape Cod. So we're fine.
And you, sir?
Roger showed phenomenal patience and resourcefulness in getting this underway as we are. Leaving Albany in one piece on one car. Amazing.
Here we are aboard the Lakeshore Limited with the Stage Door Canteen band on our way to Chicago. Hopefully we'll all make it there. We're hoping. Great time. Looking forward to some great gigs. Got Fitzgerald's and Reggie's Music Joint and the Gallery Cabaret. So stay tuned. The journey has just begun.
Well, I'm glad to say the band's been together for 20 years, and we finally get on a train together to go to Chicago. It should be amazing, but as often in this band, things start a little effed up, and then we just have fun and laugh about it, but I'm laughing about it now. So this is our car. I hope to have 8 or 10 people in it by later tonight and recreate the Marx Brothers movie scene. We'll see what happens. Cheers to Roger. Thank you, Roger, for putting this together. We love you. I hope you don't have a heart attack on the trip.
Oh, no! Get in the room! Get in the room!
No. I don't have Andy. We gotta get Andy in, right?
No, we need Andy. Where's Andy?
Where is that guy? You need Andy and Jessica. That's why.
Andy, Jessica. We're missing.
Peter D. Cook.
Yes.
My last will and testament. We need a bigger boat.
That we did this tour because Stage Door Canteen is 20 years old this year. We've survived as a working big band, which is very odd and in a lot of ways very unique. That we were a working big band on Cape Cod of all places. In 2007, our 15th anniversary, we went to Ireland and did a concert and played at a place called the Sugar Club and recorded and released a CD. So we figured, well, for our 20th anniversary, we would have to do something interesting. And I have always had a vision of taking a big band on a train to Chicago. Chicago is a great city. I've been there a few times before. It's almost like New Orleans in the sense of very much a birthplace of a lot of jazz, a birthplace of a lot of big bands. I came out of Chicago, and we were very interested in going there as a big band. And to keep with the nostalgia of the whole thing, we figured we'd take the Lakeshore Limited, take the train, and do it that way. And that caused a lot of interest when we called people out there and said, hey, we're bringing this big band by rail from Boston. Instead of saying you're crazy, they said, oh, that's awesome, that's really cool, nobody's ever done that before. So it helped us kind of get in the door in a lot of places and helped us get a gig. We played at 3 places while we were out there. A place called Fitzgerald's, which is an awesome place, in Berwyn, which is just on the outskirts of the city, or a different section of the city. An awesome place, and they have a big band night every Sunday night, and so that was the first place that we had booked. Very awesome gig there. It's the day we arrived. We were a little tired, we were a little punchy, but did an awesome job there. People absolutely loved the band, thought it was great. The second night we were at a place, played at a place called Reggie's Music Joint, which is interesting venue. I think more towards rock related, but they do jazz there as well, and then they do some big band things. There was a group called M13 that opened for us, which was a awesome jazz ensemble. A lot of young musicians that we got to see, great musicians from the graduate school out in Chicago. So it was great to see some young guys. It was all original stuff, so it was really nice to see that. And when we got up, we held our own, and we did our more traditional big band sort of set, and we really kind of blew a lot of people away with that. And out of that particular venue, we were able to record, and we record what's going to be our new CD that's going to come out. That's going to be our Live in Chicago CD. We did an awesome jazz set. So as you will hear and see clips of, I'm sure, in this video. But that was an awesome place. The last place we played was Gallery Cabaret, a very interesting, intimate little club. Great spot. We really enjoyed it. We just had a lot of fun there. We opened for a blues jam that was taking place there later that evening, and a lot of those folks came in, and I think they were very surprised at what we did and how we sounded. You'll also see a lot of clips from that as well. But as far as the conception of the train thing, when I was young, my dad always told me a story about when he was in the Marine Corps in World War II, and he was traveling from North Carolina to Boston, that he was on the train with the Will Osborne big band, and this was a big band that was really popular. I think more in the 30s than in the 40s, but they were still active in the 1940s. And he told me the story of being on the band with all these musicians and how awesome it was. And of course, he got to talk to the singer, which he didn't really talk to my mother about too much. But he'd always mentioned the singer. He mentioned the singer a lot, as a matter of fact. And then he mentioned that they were playing in Lowell. He was in Boston, they were in Lowell, and somehow he got to this concert. He never talked about how he got home. I never asked, and I don't think I want to know at this point. But he always talked about that experience of riding on the train with those musicians. And then, of course, there's the movie Some Like It Hot. And that movie has always stuck to my mind. Not that we'd like to dress like women, well, at least not at this point. We haven't tried that. I don't know. No, I'm not going to go that far. But the whole idea of being on the train and being with all the musicians together. Now they traveled to Florida, and they traveled to Florida in a Pullman car. Now here we are on the Lakeshore Limited. We're all in one sleeping car, which is a little different configuration, but basically with the same results. We did try playing on the train, and that didn't quite work out too well, as the conductor came by and said, "What's that noise?" But we've had a really great time, a good bonding experience for us, to say the least. So it's fulfilled all my expectations as far as bonding the band, getting to a really good level of play, and just the experience of experiencing what the big bands of the 1930s and 40s felt as they traveled cross country by rail. A lot of them.
I joined the band in 1995 after an incident where it opened up a seat for the trumpet section. And I had played with a big band over on Martha's Vineyard and had always heard about Stage Door Canteen and was excited to get to play with them. And that was in 1995 when they were playing weekly at the, what's that restaurant? The Nimrod, yes. And at the Nimrod, and that was a lot of fun. And I was still pretty much a neophyte trumpet player at that point and hadn't gotten as serious as I am now about playing the trumpet. And Stage Door Canteen has nursed me along. And actually, through the band, I got to hang with probably my two biggest musical mentors. One is Dick Meehan, who was unfortunately had a stroke and was not playing the saxophone anymore, is now playing the trumpet, but he was extremely influential in getting me started improvising, which I hadn't done until much later, after being a trumpet player all through elementary school and high school. But the other mentor is certainly Billy Thompson, who gives me such a sense of accomplishment after I play a solo and he turns around and gives me that look. There's no, there are no words necessary, nor does he have to do the thumbs up or anything. He just turns around and looks at me, and that just, once that happens, I know I'm doing okay. But I know that other people have said that stage door is like family to them. It certainly is for me. Having gone through some trials and tribulations over the last few years, it was the guys in Stage Door Canteen that really rallied and supported me and got me through it, including a infamous moving day where most of the guys showed up to help me move out of the house, and we cleaned out the upstairs, which included about a 4,000-pound wood stove. But then I said, okay, now guys, we got to go down into the basement and clean that out. And they didn't know that I had a complete foundry and metal shop hiding in my basement. And they were required to lift buckets of lead ingot and also the infamous anvil, which I get chastised about at about every gig. Well, I certainly admire Peter Cook because he never has to practice. So that's something that I'm extremely jealous about, to play as crystal clear in his tone quality and as high as he does. And I know I work hours every day, and he's just got a natural ability. I certainly admire Roger for 20 years of persistence, being a babysitter, a psychologist, a bank for various members of the band, and hats off to Raj for pulling this all together on this trip. I think, you know, I could probably say something about everybody in the band, what I admire about them. Jim Peterson certainly is the Rock of Gibraltar in the rhythm section for us. And it makes so much difference when we have our A team on the rhythm group with Andy and Jim and Jeff on drums. The band never seems to groove as hard if they're not there. And we've been teasing Andy recently about a guy that's been subbing on guitar periodically. His name is Paul. And when Andy decided to show up 10 minutes late for our departure out of the Sagamore Park and Ride, we had called Paul, and Paul was on his way to take his place.
William and Kate.
Andy, listen, we got Paul on the bus.
Yeah. We didn't think you were coming, so we got Paul. He's on the bus already. So.
I graduated from Berkeley in 1990, and as part of being a teacher, you go and student teach, and I happened to student teach in Mashpee, where Raj's, at the time, best friend Mike Persico was working. At some point along the way, I got a gig in a pizza place after I had taught for a year. And one day Roger showed up at the pizza place. I must have looked miserable because I was working there, 12-hour shifts.
And he said, hey, listen, putting a big band together, we're traveling to New York. I know you play guitar, why don't you come on in? And we're going to have a rehearsal next Tuesday. And that was 1992. I know our first rehearsal was the date of the Rodney King riots. That's how I kept track of this. I don't know what that date is. It's May something. I'm going to look it up as soon as I go back to my car. But the day of the Rodney King riots, it was a Tuesday. We had a rehearsal at the conservatory in Falmouth, getting ready for this big New York gig that Jim Gerard, who was a fellow Army band member, Roger, was putting together. So I showed up. The first guy I saw there was Jim Peterson, the bass player, who's also a founding member, though he left for a couple of years. And we had a rehearsal that night. It sounded like probably nothing that we sound like today. I don't think it was very good. None of this would be existing without Roger. Roger's held us all together. We traveled to Ireland in 2007 with the band. We've done this trip. But everybody is replaceable with the exception of Roger. A number of musicians have come in, but if we didn't have Roger, this wouldn't be held together. He's put his blood, his money, his marriages into this, a lot of everything. The band, as it is right now, is probably the best musical group we have, with Jeff Dodge in drums and Jim Peterson in the rhythm section with me. And then to play next to Billy Thompson every night, who's played with Aretha Franklin and Lou Rawls, and God, he's sitting with Cannonball Adderley. And just how do you? Sometimes I just reach over and touch him just to see if I can get any of his groove, because he's spectacular. And just a number of musicians. James Thomas has come in, and Jessica singing and playing. And there's always an infusion of new life as we go along. Things get stale, and then something changes up, and it's always worked in our favor. But the fact we've been together 20 years, it's not a business, it's a family. We kind of watch out for each other, and we really do love each other and love playing with each other.
Well, I went to one of their gigs at Maguire's, and Roger called me up to sing a song, and I sang All of Me, and that was my dream moment. I've always had this dream of like being in a big band and everything, so it was cool. How could I get along without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why don't take all of me? I love this group. Why do you love it? I don't know. Everyone's so much fun, and I mean, I didn't really feel connected with everybody until I came here, so.
You know, this trip?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I really feel like I bonded with people on this trip.
Somebody said, you know, this band, Stage Door Canteen in Falmouth, might need a sax sub every now and then. You should call this guy. So I did. This guy, Roger Gamache. You probably heard him mentioned in other people's interviews. But I told him what I did, and he said, fine. You know, how about showing up at Maguire's? You know, bring your, I think my first gig was him with bring your tenor, play fourth tenor with the band. Fine. And that was about 5.5 years ago, because after that gig he asked me if I'd be available to go to Ireland, because 5 years ago the band did a little tour to Ireland. I said, sure. He said, would you mind playing alto on the tour? I said, no. So that started the process, and we started doing intense rehearsals. And what I liked about it was, even though they were, a lot of them were casual musicians, they had other day jobs and they were playing because they loved to play at night. The rehearsals really tightened the band up. They were very serious about the music, even though they may not be full-time musicians. And for this tour, the 2012 Lakeshore Limited Tour, we rehearsed again, and I really think the band came to another level. It was very nice for me to see, because I play often in big bands where everybody is a professional full-time musician. The guys really stepped up, rehearsed, tightened up in the material, and played some very challenging charts on this tour. I think generally the new music we added on this tour was far more challenging than the music we added for the Ireland tour. It's been just a lot of fun to play with the band. I've actually played every book in the band. At one point in time or another in the last 5 years, I've played the Barry book, first or second alto, and jazz tenor or fourth tenor. And everyone seems, always over here today, that's fine, play that part. The tour itself, I think the guys have been working together long enough that we sort of cut each other slack on the things that we're good at, and we know what somebody else isn't good at, and really worked together to make this be smooth. Everyone's equipment got on, everyone was watching everybody else's equipment. I think perhaps the fire drill at 5 in the morning, because the fire alarm went off in the hotel after our overnight train ride, and our first gig was a bit of a challenge for a lot of people, but now we laugh about it. Just another thing that happens when you're on the road with the band. And that's another thing, while I'm thinking about that overnight train trip and then that first gig, people really rose to the occasion. A lot of guys that don't travel well, who are pretty road weary for that first night job at Fitzgerald's, really, they stepped up and played very, very well that first night. I was very happy about that. Having actually toured with several bands, what's great about this is that no one got left behind. Now I say that, and there's a potential for humor with that, but if the bus leaves at a certain time and you're not there, it's up to you to buy your own way to get to the next gig. And everyone really pitched in. If someone was running a little late, they'd pick up their gear, help them get it to where it needed to be. It was much more of a familial situation on this tour. I think the guys know each other well, have hung out a lot together. You see someone maybe left a case behind or someone left a bag, you just go pick it up, take it up to them, make sure everyone's all set. That's really nice. I mean, that's worth it, perhaps more than even, when you get back and you've got a check from the tour. It's great that everyone is supportive of everybody and really wants to create an environment where everybody can do their best, and then we all expect everybody to do their best, and it just happens. It's a really nice experience that does not happen in a lot of union or professional bands, where it's pretty much everyone's on their own, and if somebody messes up, then perhaps another member of the band can get their friend in their place. It's a much more winner-take-all kind of situation, and this band is not that. This band is, let's be really supportive. Let's have everybody be in a situation where they can do their best and perform their best. And it's very refreshing, and it makes me want to go out again with these guys.
I actually started playing with a group, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago maybe. I had actually moved back to Falmouth from Maine, lived in Maine for a long time as a teacher, and got a teaching gig in Maine. started off on fourth trumpet, just kind of playing in the background, and it was a great group. I mean, I was really impressed with the musicianship of who was in the band and the things that they could do, and it was a lot of fun. I just really clicked with a lot of the guys, and just had a lot of fun playing. And then, as fate would have it, our lead trumpet player, Tom Boarding, was still in college, and he had to go back to school for his senior year. So we played a goodbye party or something for him, and I kind of stepped in and said, I'll play lead and take his place just for that party, so he didn't have to play. And it went really well. So from that point on, I became the lead player in the group. So it's been quite a while since I've been doing that. The band really helped me out in some hard times when things didn't work out in the job, and I didn't know if I was going to continue music at all. And a lot of them came to my aid and my side and kept me in it, and I'm really glad they did. So this has been really my outlet now for the last 12 years to get my music out, and I really thank them for that, for keeping me involved in music.
Don't you ever be sad, lean on me when times are bad. When the day comes, you are down in a river of trouble and about to drown.
In the last few years, or actually, I guess it's just been the last year, I've also started having the opportunity to sing with the band, which has really been fantastic. It gives me a chance to get out there and actually, perform in front of the band for a change. And being a really shy guy, I kind of have always kind of hung back in the background. So yeah, it's good for me to get out and to actually to do a little bit of singing. So we'll see where that takes us from now.
Reach out for me for satisfaction. Call my name for quick reaction.
Well, the trumpet section is always the coolest section, of course. We have a blast. I mean, the three of us who are there now have been in the band together for quite a long time, so we really almost read each other's minds at this point. We play together really well. I think musically we really we phrase things the same. We just really click. It's a great group. We do a lot of dance steps back there. I love those guys. We always refer to ourselves as the Snakes. We were like a four-headed snake back when we were four that played like one. That's how we always referred to ourselves. So me and Snake 2 and Snake 3 are still carrying on.
Musician and tremendous gifts, and people are born with gifts, and I cultivated that gift, but I also developed and cultivated a drug and alcohol problem. And as soon as I started playing out professionally, I indulged in that, and as I was cultivating my gift and going up like this, the drugs and alcohol were dragging me down, so it was like a process of where were they going to meet? And when they finally did meet, I stopped playing I was 45 years old. It was a 30-year run, and I made some really good music, and I made some really good enemies too, by my actions and behaviors,
and things I did, and people put up with me for a long time because I was gifted and I had a talent. So at 45, I was unemployable as a musician and basically unemployable anywhere else either. So I got to the point after 5 years of not playing and just doing what I wanted to do. I had to, I asked for help, you know, 'cause I needed help to get over what I was doing and change my life. And I got a lot of help. I got more help than I wanted to get, actually. And I was surprised at people that were willing to help me. And I got a lot of help. And the thing about asking for help is actually accepting help. Once you ask for it, the hard part might be actually accepting that help. So I think people who are successful at overcoming that kind of situation where you know, you do what you want to do for so long, that the gift actually was for me to accept that help and you know, and do the work. And so 10 years later, after being sober for 10 years, I started playing again after 2 years of being sober, and then I had my own band and still have my own band. And building up trust with people and relationships, and doing a much better job at being a good person, a decent person, and a responsible, and someone people can count on. And that's kind of why I'm on this trip, is because people know they can count on me now. After being on the Cape for 9 years and sober the whole time, I built up a name for myself. I've restarted a life and a career, and I'm extremely happy about that. You know, anybody can really do that, but you have to string it together, and it can be done. You know, and I'm really grateful for that. I get calls to do a lot of work, and the fact that Roger asked me on this trip is a testament to 10 years of sobriety, really. It's what it's all about for me. And it's been an amazing journey. And, you know, I have a life second to none. I've done more in the last 10 years than I did the previous 30 put together. And it's just an amazing thing, and it can be done.
I've been in the band for a year and a half. It's right out of high school. I mean, James was my teacher, so he was like, oh, you know, maybe you can come down and play with us. And Roger was cool with it. Came down and played a few gigs, and he just needed a second tenor player, so here I am. I had the privilege of taking lessons with Roger for a while, which is really cool. So I mean, I learned a lot of stuff from him. I learned I'd been playing saxophone partially wrong for the past 7 years of my life, but or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, I love the band. It is very much a family. I feel like I'm part of that. It's cool. It's really cool to be involved in stuff. I'm not like this. I mean, this is like, you know, legit. This is a big band. This is in all meaning of the sense. I'm all meaning of the word. But me and my buddies from high school, from college, we'll jam out. We'll form like maybe a few bands here that'll last like a week, and then a new band will form and stuff like that. But it's nothing as professional as this. So I mean, we're coming back from Chicago now, which is awesome. I've never been anywhere out like that far west or anything, so yeah, that was pretty cool. Yep, it was fun.
when the ladies came down in the hollow.
I got involved in Stage Door Canteen in 1996. I know it must have been 1996 because I had just gotten my driver's license. And the first gig I ever did with Stage Door Canteen was when Andy was the general music teacher at the Wing School. So it was like a pasta supper at the Wing School. And that was the first time I ever played with Stage Door, and I went and I played like, I think third trombone. Kevin was there. Obviously Raj. But actually, despite the fact that I'm, you know, with the exception of Jessica, the youngest full-time guy in the band, I've been in the band almost from the beginning, so I've been in the band a long time. You know, on and off. And then Roger would call me every once in a while to come play third trombone, and then it became second trombone, and then eventually, you know, worked it out, so I started playing lead, more of the solos and everything after I came back from college. Oh, I admire everybody in the band. I mean, there's not a guy in this band that, and that's a big part of it for me, is that it's a big part of it for me because, like I said, I started in this band when I was 16 years old, and revered these guys, and you know, just spent 15 years trying to get up to that level, and in a lot of ways, I'm still, you know, I'm always going to be chasing Billy Thompson's level. I mean, that's not going to change. That's. But I know I admire everybody in the band, and you know, I said to Peter the other day, you know, I play out a fair amount. You know, I play with other bands and everything, but he's a fabulous lead player, and Jeff's a fabulous drummer, and Jim, and I mean everybody is just, you know, and then, you know, you look at a guy like Burke, who brings so much to the table. I mean, Burke just brings such an incredible amount to the table. So everybody, and then, you know, Dan is an addition. You know, all of a sudden it's like, who the hell is this guy? This guy just shows up, and you know, there he is. He's bringing a lot. So everybody's, yeah, I admire and look up to everybody here. I admire everything that everybody's doing, and I'm trying to do my part. You know, I'm just trying to keep up. When we first started, I really liked singing the rock and roll stuff a lot, and you know, I'll do it. I mean, I'll whatever. I'll sing anything. It's fine. If I know the words, I'll sing the song. It's not a huge deal to me, but that's a little tired. I like singing the Sinatra stuff. I think it's probably time for some new charts. I actually have a fairly deep voice, which makes it challenging for me, because that stuff is not in those keys. So, but that is, again, you know, it's a good symbiosis between me and Peter, because his voice is a little higher, and he's able to tackle some of that stuff that I'm not able to tackle, and I'm able to tackle some of the stuff he's not able to tackle. So, you know, that works out well.
Of the guys, but met Roger, the leader, a good 20 years ago. First met him when we were playing with a Thomas big band. Gary Thomas had a big band in the New Bedford area, and Roger was in the Navy. And we had some Navy guys come in to the Thomas band to help us out. We were playing at local clubs in the New Bedford, Fall River area, and that's where I met Roger, and we've been associated with each other and been friends for a little over 20 years. After the Thomas Band era, we actually were in the same Army band, the 215th Army Band, which is a National Guard band in Massachusetts. And Roger joined. I was there a little bit before him. I eventually became first sergeant of the Army Band, and Roger was my section leader. And eventually Roger actually took over the stage band for a while in the Army Band. So we've been friends for quite a long time. During that time, Roger always wanted to start a big band of his own. So him and another friend of ours, Jim White, who was also in the Army Band, he's a drummer, they formed a small company called GW Music, which was Gamache and White. So GW Music pulled together a big band, and Roger came up with the idea of naming it Stage Door Canteen. And I joined the band at that point, and I must have worked with him for the first year or two. But then I had a job that had me out on the road quite a bit, not as a musician, but I worked for different companies, IBM being one of them, so I did a lot of traveling, and I couldn't really make the rehearsals and the gigs. So I wasn't able to stay with the band for a fairly long time. Came back into the band about 9 years ago, and I've been with it ever since. It's a great outlet for me. Like I said, I've been playing trumpet since I was 16. And you know, I've done mostly small combo work, and I've done big band stuff and concert band and marching band, typical, you know, round the globe type thing of musical performances. But with the big band, it's a great bunch of guys, all very well accomplished, and they make a great sound. We play some nice charts, and we play good places, and we have a good time.
Well, I didn't start playing the saxophone until I was 13, and that was somewhere in the 50s, you know. And then the guys that I liked then, I used to like the big band guys, like Tommy Dorsey's big band, and I used to admire one of the alto players in that band. His name was Jimmy Dorsey, and you know, Jimmy Dorsey. And so I love the big bands, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Woody, all the big bands. Just for some reason, I was drawn to them. And then the saxophonists, like I said, Jimmy Dorsey, but also Charlie Parker, people like Johnny Hodges. Well, those are primarily alto players. Tenor players, Sonny Rollins, Ben Webster, Coltrane, just to name a couple, you know. And it just kind of continued on from there, you know. And I always looked forward to playing with the band because of the many big bands that I had been in. And I played lead alto for about 5 big bands, more on the North Shore. And I didn't play tenor in any of those bands, but Roger gave me a chance to play tenor, allowed me to practice my clarinet playing out on the band. And, you know, it was great. I mean, a lot of bands didn't give me that opportunity. and I found that the vibes in the band from the guys, for the most part, was a lot of energy, a lot of camaraderie. They kind of would, you know, they seemed to enjoy one another, and they enjoyed having fun, and they enjoyed trying to make the people feel good, you know. And Roger would make sure we would play real long first sets till we got the audience locked within our grasp, you know. And you know, but that kind of routine, that kind of practicing, and that kind of training, actually, that what he was doing, even though I don't know if he knew it or not, but we were training us, you know, to be a little more than just the average fun big band out there, or the average big band. And then he started, you know, letting other singers get an opportunity in his band, and from Deanna Kidd, who really was one of the early pioneers of the group, and guys like one of the trumpet players, I forget his name, but he used to do a lot of singing with the band, and then up to even Jess, who we have now, who's going to be an exceptional, really talented, great singer one day if she keeps going the way she's going. He's made a way for a lot of people to develop, to hone their skills, you know, and really become good musicians. So, I mean, it's been a good experience for me just to be a contribution or some sort of an addition to the band in some way, and sometimes it's just from the standpoint of trying to, I mean, being an educator and being a person that is around people who are trying to develop their craft. It's always been my natural instinct to go up to somebody and say, especially if they're trying real hard, to encourage them. And that's what I do naturally, and that's what I think is important, but not hypocritically, just, honestly. And I think that's what Glenn and I become somewhat, we encourage one another. He always has a good word for me.
Well, I got into Stage Door Canteen right before the Ireland trip. The drummer who was in the band was not sure he wanted to commit to going on the trip. So I think it was probably in July of, 5 years ago, in 07 I guess, that I started performing with, I actually had kind of an audition with the band at Liam Maguire's Irish pub in Falmouth. And just brought my stick bag and sat in on the other drummer's drums. And so after that, I was playing all the gigs because we were rehearsing and getting ready to go to Ireland and do the Live in Dublin CD. That's how I first got into the band 5 years ago. And it's been a really great experience. There was a couple of other guys in another big band, the Cape Cod Conservatory big band, that had known my playing for several years and sort of recommended me as someone to try out for the band. So it worked out really well, and been fortunate to be in the band for the last 5 years since that trip.
What's your background?
My background is, I grew up in Whitman-Hanson. Fortunately, Whitman-Hanson High School, Steve Smith, the great jazz drummer, was 2 years older than me. We went to high school together, and I studied with him while he was going to Berklee School of Music, and I was still in high school. He was taking lessons with Alan Dawson and other great teachers and teaching me what he was learning, and he was a person who was really a great, taught me how to swing and how to play jazz, and that was a great influence on me. And I went to Berklee School of Music for 2 years, and I was a composition major, and I decided to go into education. I had some friends who were band directors, high school band directors, and I always sort of had it in the back of my mind that I would like to do that. And so I transferred to Eastern Nazarene College, legit kind of classical, small Christian school, and ended up graduating from there and teaching high school, Cohasset High School, and teaching part-time at Eastern Nazarene. And after 5 years, my schedule kept getting more and more packed at the college, so I ended up teaching at Eastern Nazarene College for a few years, and doing a church job, big church job, and wasn't doing a lot of jazz playing then because I was really into this church music thing, writing church music and conducting and so on. And then moved down the Cape and got back really into playing jazz on a heavy schedule again, and just did jazz until I got in a band called Pocketful of Soul, also 5 years ago. That was right after the Ireland trip, and it's a nice horn band, does Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire kind of covers. So that was the kind of rock I could do, because it's jazz and rock. Don't watch myself play often at all. Sometimes I'll watch my hands in a mirror to make sure that my fingers are doing the work they should be. But just watching this morning, my wife taped a few things, one song and two of my solos, and watching it, I really kind of felt like I was watching Steve Smith in a way. I mean, he's my influence in a major way, and I still watch videos of him and stuff, so I sort of, that movement, some of those things are his, and a little bit of Buddy Rich influence there. I think, you know, we kind of psycho-cybernetically think about the drummers that we love, and they're sort of in our head and what they look like. And when we play, I think some of our emotions are just, they flow like theirs flow. They're you know, their emotions. And you think about the atmosphere they create on the drums, and I know that happens with me. It's just an image, you see yourself playing it, and you probably copy it to some extent, I think, you know. But it is important to play loose, and just getting older, it takes a long time to loosen up and really stretch, so I think part of the movement is just trying to keep loose, you know, keep that loose focus in mind so you don't get tired. Geez, I love everybody in the band. They're just great personalities. I've been telling my kids, texting my kids and other people about the chemistry in the band. You know, or we don't have any real sour apples. Everybody's pulling for each other, and I think the chemistry on the train trip is sort of built up into the flow of the performance. You know, where we're behind each other, we have each other's backs, we want to support each other, we want to make each other feel good on stage. You know, the two guys I probably admire the most in the band would be Billy Thompson and Burke McKelvey. They both are Berklee instructors, and they're both superior musicians. They're the two, you know, most brilliant musicians in our band, I think, and they set a tone for great experience, professionalism, how to do things right. Billy's soloing is distinctive, you know, and you hear him featured on Begin the Beguine on this concert, and you can hear how he can just overtake a song. He has so much sound and so much energy and emotion in his playing, and his improv is definitely a standout. So I would say I admire those two guys the most. But you know, I think about Jim on bass and Andy on guitar, and I've done hundreds of gigs with those guys in other bands that we've played in together, and it's just so easy. It's like putting on your favorite sneakers, you know, when I play with them. They just don't think. I watch Jim and I listen to Jim, and we just try to synchronize it, you know, lay that bottom down.
from Sandwich, Massachusetts, Andy Trianis on the guitar. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are the Stage Door Canteen from Woods Hole, Massachusetts. It's been a pleasure to be here in the Windy City with you for the past couple days. We're on our way to ship out again soon, but maybe we'll see you again sometime. If you're down on Cape Cod, you come check us out anytime. Here's a little thing we like to close it up with. And I said, Mama, don't want those trombones playing around here. And I said, Mama, don't want them trombones playing around here. But the boys don't care what Mama don't allow. They're gonna blow them T-bones anyhow. Mama don't want them trombones playing around here. Saxophone around here. I said, Mama don't want no saxophone around here. Hey, oh, no care what Mama don't allow. They're gonna blow them saxes anyhow. Mama don't want no saxophone around here. The bass playing round her. I said, Mama don't want that bass playing round her. But Jimmy don't care what Mama don't allow. He gonna pluck the bass for you anyhow. Mama don't want no bass playing round her. But the boy don't care, but Mama don't allow it. Let's stop Mama don't want that scat singing around here. 7 mile Mama don't want that scat singing around Mama don't come on back and see us sometime.